Let's kick it off. Topping our list this week is the Treasury Yield Vol, 110 and 3/4, up about 3 1/3 points today. That is also the high for the week. In fact, that seems to be our narrative with most of the names we're talking about this week. Pinning the needle to the upside from a vol perspective. So we're getting a little bit juicier on the vol front, which is kind of interesting given the fact that a lot of assets we've talked about have come in on the vol front of late. Treasuries pinning the needle to the upside. That is the high for the week. The low for their weekly vol range, 94.06. So once again, pretty wide range on the Treasury yield volatility. Below it, we have the metals. Metals coming in at an 1884, up about 0.6 just today. So that's pretty spicy for the metals. If you know anything about metals, you know in aggregate, they're not usually bastions of volatility. So getting north of an 18, threatening a 19 handle, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's also the high for the week. The low was 17.29, so about 1.6 points. Over 1.5 point range on the week for metals vol, all that to the upside. That's a lot. So that's kind of interesting out there. Again, if you've been looking at some of our shows like the Futures Rundown, you've seen that it's a good year to be long some metals in your back pocket. Could be precious, could even be base like copper. Either way, metals have been where the action is this year. Below it, we have the ag products CVOL, 19.57 today. That's pretty much the high for the week. Technically, it was a little bit higher, 19.69 yesterday. The low was 18.98. Below it, we have the FX CVOL, 8.94, up about 0.2 today. That is the high for the week. The low, 8.17. Below it, we have the Treasury CVOL. This is, again, the actual underlying price volatility of the Treasury complex. A different beast than the yield volatility. Also, obviously, much lower. The price volatility, 6 1/4, up 0.17 today. That is also the high for the week. The low, 5.14. So over 1 point range for Treasury price vol in the week. That's a lot. But then again, we did have that little bit of a dust up yesterday between Powell and the Fed. So obviously that's going to be playing out in the Treasury volatility. Below it, we have the aggregate commodities CVOL, 35.15. This is one of the few that's bucking the trend, coming in at the middle of its weekly range. The high was 35.91 and the low 34.67. So kind of splitting the uprights there. And our lone loser on the week is actually the energy CVOL, 49.73, off a little over a 0.5 point today. That is pretty much the low for the week. The high 51.37 out there. So energy vol coming back to earth a little bit.